very short video to talk about crossing the line, which is one of the principles of cinematography. And it's one of those things that is very hard to teach and hard to understand until you actually do it. So this video is really aimed at people who've messed up and then are trying to solve the problem of crossing the line. So there are two concepts here. There's the 180-degree rule, or crossing the line, and then there's visual continuity. And the two are very, very closely related, though they're not quite the same. But for our purposes, what we need to understand is that where you've got two characters in a scene talking to each other, which is very, very common, you want to make sure that you maintain visual continuity. In other words, if you put the camera, this image is taken from Wikipedia, by the way, if you put the camera over here and point the camera at orange and blue, then orange will be on the left and blue will be on the right. If you cross this imaginary line that goes down the middle between the two characters, if you cross over it and put the camera on the left, suddenly blue will be on the left and orange will be on the right. And people do this all the time by mistake, and it creates a very, very confusing situation because it's very hard visually when you're watching something to go from blue being on the right to blue being on the left to blue being back on the right again. This is very, very confusing to look at, and that's why you don't want to cross the line. So what we're talking about is maintaining visual continuity or visual harmony. So once you put blue on the right and orange on the left, you want things to stay that way, and you want to maintain that visual harmony. So if you think about ant and deck, ant is always on the left and deck is always on the right. And if you go ahead and Google them, you will see that this visual harmony is maintained. Ant on the left, deck on the right. And they maintain this at all times because it's ant and deck, not deck and ant. It might seem like a small thing, but they do this all the time because they understand the importance of visual continuity. If you watch this clip from The Lord of the Rings with Gollum and Sméagol, this is the famous scene where Sméagol is kind of having his inner conflict with Gollum inside him. Gollum is the nasty one who wants to kill the hobbits and take the ring. Sméagol is, or is it the other way around? Sorry, I always forget. Anyway, whichever one it is, Peter Jackson swings the camera from left to right while Sméagol is having this conversation with himself, and we see the personality emerging on different sides. But what you've got is one facet of this character on the left and then another facet on the right. So it's Gollum on the left, I think that's right, Sméagol on the right. So he's maintaining visual harmony. You can look up the clip and check it out, but you'll see what I mean. People also do this in war movies, you know, because in war movies the sort of the Allies, United Kingdom and Americans are on the left, Axis, Germany and Italy on the right. This is actually taken from the First World War, so it's the wrong map, but you get what I'm talking about. And then you maintain visual harmony. So if you've got German bombers coming to bomb London, they're going to be coming from the right because Germany is over here, and they're going to be attacking from the right towards the left, and then British Spitfires are going to be coming from the left because Britain is on the left. Again, this might sound like a small thing, but we kind of have in our heads a map of the world, so you want to maintain that visual harmony when you're staging things. So for the same reason, Germans come in from the right, British come in from the left, and so on. Now, you'll see the same thing done in movies. Well, it's slightly different, but you'll see the same thing done in movies. This is actually taken from a video on crossing the line, which you can find at YouTube. It's by the folks at Pixar, and it's all about crossing the line. And it's all about how they put the camera, which over in this shot is over here, so that when the camera is pointing at Buzz and Woody, Buzz is on the left and Woody is on the right. And whenever they stage this shot, they can move the camera here between Buzz and Woody, so Woody is always on the right and Buzz is always on the left, but you don't cross the line so that Woody goes on the left and Buzz goes on the right, because if you do that, it doesn't work. So have a look. If this is still unclear, go to YouTube, search for Crossing the Line, Pixar, and get their take on the 180-degree rule. So we're maintaining Woody on the right, Buzz on the left, and there you can see the camera's moved over here, so they're maintaining screen direction. If you cross the line, if you put the camera over here, you've crossed this imaginary red line, suddenly Woody is on the left and Buzz is on the right. That is wrong, it doesn't work, it will jump and the audience will feel confused, and you do not want to cross, you do not want to confuse your audience. Gets more complicated if you've got 3 characters. Let's not get into that. It's hard enough with 2, but bear in mind that the rules are relatively simple for 2 characters, but it gets much more complicated with 3. So here's back to the image from Wikipedia, and as I say, the only real way to really learn this stuff is to do it. So just storyboard your film, or pre-visit, or whatever you're doing, 3D layout, however you're doing it. Understand you probably will cross the line, you probably will mess this stuff up if you're doing it for the first time, but this is one of the most important things to learn in filmmaking, and you will get it. Once you storyboard your work, once you pre-visit, you will break all of these rules, you will mess it up, and then you will fix it. And if you're going to apply for work in the industry as a storyboard artist or as a previs artist, understanding the 180-degree rule, understanding why you don't want to cross the line, or if you do cross the line, how to cross the line, because there are ways of doing it. You basically got to do it in one shot. But understand that how to do it so that you don't break the rules and you maintain visual harmony and you take the audience with you. So that, in a nutshell, is the 180-degree rule. And just in the simplest of terms, just try and keep the characters on the same side of the screen so they're not popping from one side to another. Remember, blue on the right, orange on the left. Don't have blue on the left, orange on the right. As soon as you do that, you will confuse your audience and you have crossed the line.